I never thought building a successful business would tear my family apart. The text message from my mother still haunts me. Either make your brother a full partner in your company by Friday, or consider yourself disowned. After 7 years of building my marketing firm from nothing into a seven-figure business, she was demanding I hand half of it to my brother Ryan, who had never worked a day in his life. The same brother who received everything growing up while I struggled for scraps of attention. The same brother who had failed out of 3 colleges on my parents' dime while I worked 2 jobs to pay my own tuition. Now my mother was threatening to cut me off completely if I didn't sacrifice everything I had built. Before I tell you how this ultimatum played out and the shocking aftermath that followed, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to choose between your own success and someone else's unreasonable expectations. To understand how things reached such a breaking point, you need to know that in my family, there were always 2 sets of rules. From our earliest years, my brother Ryan could do no wrong, while I could never quite measure up. Though only 2 years apart, we might as well have been raised in different households given the stark contrast in how we were treated. Ryan was the unexpected miracle baby. My parents had been told they couldn't have more children after me, so when he arrived, he was immediately declared special. Golden hair, bright blue eyes, and a smile that could charm anyone. Ryan looked like he had stepped out of a children's clothing catalog. I, on the other hand, had inherited my father's more ordinary brown hair and eyes, along with what my mother called a serious disposition that made me less immediately endearing to relatives and family friends. The difference in treatment was subtle at first. Ryan received lavish birthday parties with dozens of guests, while mine were small family affairs. When we both brought home report cards, his B-minuses were celebrated with ice cream outings, while my straight A's were met with a nod and an expected good job. As we grew older, the disparities became more pronounced and painful. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" became my mother's favorite refrain whenever I failed to meet her expectations. Ryan was naturally athletic and social, easily making friends and earning spots on sports teams. I was quieter, more academically inclined, preferring books and computers to footballs and parties. In our household, his attributes were considered superior, worthy of praise and attention. By high school, the favoritism had crystallized into a family dynamic that everyone recognized but no one acknowledged. My father, though less obvious in his preference, rarely intervened when my mother lavished attention on Ryan while dismissing my achievements. My accomplishments were expected, his celebrated. My mistakes were character flaws, his were just boys being boys. When college approached, the inequity reached new heights. Despite my superior grades and test scores, my parents informed me they had limited college funds, and I would need to apply for scholarships and work to cover expenses. I accepted this reality without complaint, securing a partial academic scholarship and taking evening jobs at the campus library and local restaurant to make ends meet. 2 years later, Ryan enrolled at an expensive private university with full financial support from our parents. When he failed most of his classes that first year, they hired tutors. When he was placed on academic probation his second year, they made donations to ensure he received special consideration. When he was finally asked to leave after 3 years of partying and minimal academic progress, they consoled him and blamed the institution for failing to engage such a special mind. Throughout those years, I maintained a 4 gigapascals while working 30 hours weekly, graduating with honors in business and marketing. My graduation ceremony was attended only by my father, as my mother stayed home because Ryan had a minor cold. The pattern was so established by then that I barely felt the sting. After college, our paths diverged even further. Ryan moved back home, where my parents supported him while he found himself a process that involved cycling through various interests without committing to any. He tried music production for 3 months, then photography for a while, followed by a brief period of interest in becoming a personal trainer. None of these aspirations translated into actual employment or independence. Meanwhile, I had discovered a genuine talent for digital marketing during my college internships. I saw opportunities in helping small businesses establish effective online presences, a service many couldn't afford from large agencies but desperately needed. With $5,000 saved from my campus jobs and a used laptop, I launched Madison Digital Marketing from my tiny apartment's kitchen table. Those first 2 years were brutally difficult. I worked 16-hour days, handled everything from client acquisition to actual implementation, and reinvested every penny of profit back into the business. Many nights I subsisted on ramen noodles and coffee, too busy and broke for anything more. When I called home during this period, conversations invariably shifted to Ryan's latest interest or my mother's concerns about my unhealthy obsession with work. The turning point came in my third year when I landed two significant clients who transformed my company's trajectory. A regional restaurant chain needed complete digital rebranding, and a growing fitness franchise wanted ongoing social media management. These contracts allowed me to hire my first two employees and move into a small but proper office space. By year 5, Madison Digital had 15 employees, a downtown office, and a reputation as one of the most innovative boutique marketing firms in the region. Industry awards began coming in, and a profile in Business Insider brought national attention. For the first time, my parents seemed to notice my success, though their acknowledgement came with unexpected complications. "You know who would be excellent at marketing," my mother commented during one of her rare visits to my office. "Ryan. He has such natural people skills and creativity. You should hire him." I carefully explained that while I agreed Ryan was charming, my company needed professionals with specific skills and experience. All positions required relevant degrees or demonstrated expertise. Ryan had neither. This response triggered the first of many uncomfortable conversations about my responsibility to family and how success means nothing if you don't share it. These discussions intensified as my company continued to grow, and Ryan's situation remained unchanged. At 30, he was still living at home, still financially dependent on our parents, and still without any clear direction or motivation. What I didn't realize then was that these conversations were merely precursors to the ultimatum that would force me to choose between my hard-won business success and my family's approval, a choice no one should ever have to make. The actual ultimatum came during what I had expected to be a routine Sunday dinner at my parents' home. These monthly visits had become increasingly tense over the past year, but I maintained them out of a sense of familial obligation and the fading hope that my parents might eventually recognize the value of my path. That particular Sunday seemed normal at first. My mother had prepared her signature roast beef. My father was watching golf in the living room, and Ryan was texting someone while barely participating in conversation. After dinner, however, my mother asked me to join her in the kitchen while she prepared coffee. "Madison has been doing very well for yourself." She began using my full name, as she always did when leading up to something important. "Your father and I have been thinking about your brother's future." The familiar knot formed in my stomach. Any conversation that started this way inevitably led to suggestions about how I should help Ryan, usually financially. "We think it's time Ryan became part of Madison Digital," she continued, her tone matter of fact, as if discussing something as simple as the weather, as a full partner. I nearly dropped the cups I was helping to arrange on the tray. "A partner, Mom, he has no experience in marketing. He's never even had a real job." "That's exactly why he needs this opportunity," she countered. "You've always been able to find your way. Ryan needs family support to reach his potential." "I can offer him an entry-level position," I suggested, trying to be reasonable. "He would need to apply like anyone else and work his way up." My mother's expression hardened. "Entry-level? Your own brother? That's insulting. He has natural talents that would complement your technical skills." The way she said technical made it sound like a character flaw rather than a valuable expertise. Running a business isn't about natural charm, Mom. It's about skills, knowledge, and experience. My employees have degrees and years of training. My clients expect professional results. Family comes first, Madison. Always. Her voice had taken on the steely quality I recognized from childhood confrontations. "Your father and I have discussed this thoroughly. We want you to make Ryan a full 50% partner in the business by the end of this week." The absurdity of the demand momentarily left me speechless. My company represented 7 years of sacrifice, thousands of hours of work, and every penny I had ever earned. No one, not even family, had the right to demand half of it. "That's completely unreasonable." I finally responded, working to keep my voice level. "The business is worth millions now. You're asking me to give away something I built from nothing to someone who hasn't earned it and doesn't understand it." "This isn't a request," my mother said coldly. This is what's happening. Either Ryan becomes your full partner by Friday, or you are no longer part of this family. No more dinners, holidays, or contact of any kind. Your choice. In that moment, the kitchen seemed to close in around me. The ultimatum was so extreme, so disconnected from any reasonable concept of fairness that I initially thought she might be joking. One look at her unwavering expression confirmed she was deadly serious. "Does Dad know you're making this threat?" I asked, grasping for some sense of reality. "Your father agrees completely. Ryan needs this. If you truly valued family, this wouldn't even be a question." When I walked back into the dining room, Ryan was smirking, making it clear he had been part of this plan all along. My father avoided eye contact, confirming his complicity through silence. The remainder of that visit passed in a blur of tension and disbelief. As I drove home, my mother's ultimatum replayed in my mind. The business they wanted me to give away had cost me everything, while Ryan had been given everything and produced nothing. The injustice burned, yet the prospect of losing my family dysfunctional as they were created a hollow ache in my chest. Over the next 2 days, I barely slept or ate. I consulted with my company's attorney, who was appalled by the situation and strongly advised against bringing an unqualified partner into the business. This would be corporate suicide, he warned, not to mention a breach of fiduciary duty to your employees and clients. My best friend Alexis, who had witnessed the family dynamic for years, was more blunt. "They're holding your relationship hostage to compensate for their failure to make Ryan independent. If you give in now, the demands will never stop." By Wednesday, I had reached my decision. The business I had built represented not just financial success, but personal validation of the path I had chosen despite my family's lack of support. Giving half of it away would mean surrendering not just ownership, but the principle that hard work and dedication should be rewarded on merit, not entitlement. I called my mother that evening to deliver my answer. "I can't make Ryan a partner," I told her firmly. "It wouldn't be fair to my employees, my clients, or honestly even to Ryan himself. He needs to find his own path, not take half of mine." Her response was immediate and devastating. "Then you've made your choice. Do not contact us again. You are no longer welcome in this family." The line went dead, leaving me alone with the consequences of standing firm against a lifetime of inequity and the heartbreaking reality that my own mother would disown me for refusing to sacrifice everything I had built. The fallout from my refusal was swift and severe. By the next morning, I had been blocked on all social media by my parents and Ryan. Extended family members began calling, some questioning my decision, others expressing shock at my parents' extreme reaction. The family divide was immediate and complete, with most relatives feeling pressured to choose sides. My Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, was one of the few who reached out in support. "I've watched this dynamic play out your entire life," she told me. "Standing up for yourself now is long overdue, even if the cost is painfully high." At work, I maintained a professional demeanor despite the emotional turmoil. My team noticed my distraction, but respected my privacy, stepping up to handle more responsibilities while I processed what had happened. This unexpected demonstration of loyalty from people who had no obligation beyond employment contrasted sharply with my family's conditional love. 2 weeks after the ultimatum, Ryan launched his first attack. He created social media posts claiming I had stolen family business ideas and cut him out of his rightful share. The accusations were completely fabricated, but they spread quickly through our hometown networks, reaching mutual acquaintances and even some local clients. My attorney immediately sent a cease and desist letter warning of defamation charges if the false claims continued. Ryan removed the posts, but followed up with late-night drunk calls to my cell phone, alternating between tearful pleas to fix things with Mom and angry threats about ruining my reputation. My father, who had remained silent during the ultimatum, finally called after a month of no contact. "Your mother is very hurt," he said, as if I had been the one to issue the impossible demand. "Ryan really needs this opportunity. Can't you just find a way to work with him, Dad? He has no skills or experience that would benefit the company," I explained for what felt like the 100th time. "Why can't you and Mom help him find something he's actually interested in and qualified for?" "Because this is what's available," he replied, inadvertently revealing the truth at the heart of the situation. My success had become a convenient solution to their decades-long failure to prepare Ryan for independence. Rather than addressing the real issue, they wanted to use my achievements as a shortcut. The conversation ended without resolution, and it would be the last I would have with my father for nearly a year. During that time, I threw myself into work, finding solace in the continuing growth of my company. We expanded into new markets, hired additional talent, and secured contracts with nationally recognized brands. The personal toll, however, was significant. I experienced periodic waves of grief, anger, and doubt. Holidays were particularly difficult, as were the birthdays that passed without acknowledgement from my family. I began seeing a therapist to process these complex emotions and recognized that my parents' treatment reflected their issues, not my worth. 6 months after being disowned, I received an unexpected email from Ryan. Unlike his previous communications, this one was sober and seemingly reflective. "I need to talk to you about what happened," he wrote. "Things aren't what they seem." Against my better judgment and my attorney's advice, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near my office. Ryan arrived, looking uncharacteristically subdued, without the cocky confidence I associated with him. "Mom told me you refused to give me a chance because you've always been jealous of me," he began. "But I've been thinking about it, and that doesn't make sense. You've always been the successful one." This small acknowledgement of reality was surprising, coming from someone who had benefited from our parents' distorted perspective for so long. "What changed?" I asked cautiously. "Dad's health," he admitted. "He had a minor heart attack last month. The doctor said stress was a factor. It made me realize this family situation is messed up." We talked for over an hour, and for perhaps the first time in our adult lives, with a degree of honesty. Ryan revealed that our parents had been struggling financially for years, having depleted their retirement savings supporting him. The partnership demand had been primarily about securing their future, not just his. "They're afraid of ending up dependent on me," he explained. "They know I can't support them, but they thought you would take care of all of us if I was part of your business." While this context made their actions somewhat more understandable, it didn't make the demand any more reasonable. Their solution still involved sacrificing my success rather than requiring Ryan to become self-sufficient. "I can help them financially without giving away my company," I pointed out. "But they need to acknowledge that what they asked was wrong." Ryan nodded slowly. "They won't. Mom especially. Admitting that would mean facing a lot of other things they've done over the years." He was right, of course. The ultimatum wasn't just about my business, but about maintaining the family mythology that had cast him as the golden child, and me as the less deserving one, regardless of our actual achievements. As we parted, Ryan surprised me again. "For what it's worth, I know I didn't deserve half your company. I probably couldn't even handle an entry-level job there right now." This moment of self-awareness, however small, suggested that perhaps being cut off from my success had forced Ryan to begin confronting reality for the first time. Whether that would translate into meaningful change remained to be seen. In the year following my parents' ultimatum, Madison Digital continued its upward trajectory, expanding to 30 employees and opening a second office in a neighboring state. The professional recognition and financial rewards were satisfying, yet the family estrangement left a persistent void that success alone couldn't fill. My father's health scare had created a narrow bridge of communication, primarily through text messages exchanging basic updates. He never directly addressed the ultimatum or apologized, but his occasional "proud of what you're doing" messages suggested some private recognition of my path, even if he couldn't acknowledge it to my mother or Ryan. Ryan, surprisingly, had begun making modest steps toward independence. After our coffee shop conversation, he had enrolled in community college courses and found part-time work at a local marketing agency, ironically pursuing the field entry-level position I had originally offered. He occasionally sent questions about the industry, which I answered professionally, without reopening the deeper family wounds. My mother remained the most entrenched in her position. She maintained absolute silence toward me, refusing even the minimal contact my father and brother had established. Through family connections, I learned she still spoke about me as the ungrateful child who had abandoned family obligations, a narrative that bore no resemblance to reality, but preserved her self-image. The anniversary of the ultimatum arrived with an unexpected development. My father requested a meeting alone without telling my mother. We met at a diner halfway between our homes, the neutral territory, emphasizing the diplomatic nature of the encounter. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he began awkwardly. But I needed to say some things that are long overdue. Over the next hour, he offered what amounted to the first real acknowledgement of the family dynamic that had shaped our lives. We failed both of you in different ways, he admitted. Ryan never developed self-reliance because we never required it. And you never received the recognition you deserved because we were so focused on him. While stopping short of a full apology for the ultimatum, he expressed regret for not opposing it more strongly. I knew it was wrong, he said quietly. I just didn't have the courage to say so. This partial reconciliation with my father opened a small pathway back to family connection, though on very different terms than before. I made it clear that while I was open to rebuilding our relationship, I would never again subject myself or my business to unreasonable demands. I've established boundaries that need to be respected, I told him. I'm willing to help the family financially within reason, but my company remains mine, built through work that none of you supported or contributed to. He nodded, seemingly accepting these terms. Your brother is actually doing better now, he offered. The marketing job, it suits him. He's talking about finishing his degree. This information brought mixed feelings, a combination of genuine gladness for Ryan's progress and lingering frustration that it had taken such extreme circumstances to prompt growth that should have happened years earlier. As we prepared to leave, my father hesitated. Your mother may never change her perspective, he warned. Her pride won't let her admit she was wrong. I understand, I replied. But I won't pretend she was right to preserve peace. That's a pattern that has to end. In the months that followed, I established what therapists call controlled contact with my family. I set clear boundaries about acceptable topics and behaviors, maintained emotional distance when necessary, and no longer participated in the pretense that Ryan's needs automatically outweighed mine. My relationship with my father gradually improved, becoming more authentic as he began to see me as an individual rather than merely in relation to Ryan. He visited my offices for the first time, meeting my team and gaining a real understanding of what I had built. Ryan and I developed a cautious fraternal relationship, nothing like the close sibling bond some families enjoy, but a significant improvement over the competitive dynamic our parents had fostered. As he gained professional experience and confidence, the perceived need to undermine my success diminished. My mother eventually broke her silence after 18 months, though not with an apology. Your father says you're willing to help with their retirement, she wrote in an email that carefully avoided acknowledging the ultimatum or its aftermath. We should discuss the details. Rather than responding to the implicit financial request, I addressed the underlying issue. I'm open to having a relationship again, I replied, but only one based on mutual respect. That includes respecting my business and the work that built it. This established the terms of our limited, renewed contact, a relationship nothing like the unquestioning family loyalty she had demanded, but perhaps healthier than what had existed before. She never explicitly retracted the ultimatum, but her willingness to communicate at all represented a tacit acknowledgement that her strategy had failed. The experience transformed my understanding of family dynamics and personal boundaries. I recognized that true family support encourages independence and celebrates individual success, rather than viewing it as a resource to be redistributed. I learned that setting boundaries, though painful, can ultimately lead to healthier relationships, even if those relationships take forms different from what tradition might prescribe. Most importantly, I discovered my own resilience. The threat of being disowned, once my greatest fear, had actually freed me from patterns of unequal treatment and unreasonable expectations that had shaped my entire life. Having survived the worst my family could do, I no longer feared their disapproval or withheld love. Today, Madison Digital employs over 50 people across 3 states, providing secure livelihoods that support numerous families. The company culture emphasizes merit, collaboration, and work-life balance, deliberately counteracting the toxic patterns I experienced growing up. My success has become not just personal vindication, but a platform for creating the kind of supportive environment I wish my family had provided. Ryan has completed his associate's degree and continues working in marketing, finding legitimate satisfaction in building his own career rather than appropriating mine. We maintain a cordial relationship, occasionally collaborating professionally in ways that respect our different skills and experiences. My parents have accepted, if not fully embraced, the new family dynamic. They no longer make demands, though old patterns sometimes emerge in subtle ways. My father has expressed genuine pride in my accomplishments, while my mother has at least stopped openly comparing me unfavorably to Ryan. The ultimatum that was meant to force me into sacrificing my success instead became the catalyst for dismantling unhealthy family patterns and establishing genuine independence. Sometimes the greatest act of love toward family is refusing to participate in destructive dynamics even when that refusal comes at tremendous personal cost. Have you ever had to choose between your own success and unreasonable family demands? How did you handle the situation and what boundaries did you establish? Share your experience in the comments below to help others facing similar difficult choices in their family relationships. If this story of standing firm against manipulation resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about navigating complex family dynamics. Share this video with someone who might be struggling to set healthy boundaries with family members who make unreasonable demands. Thank you for listening to my journey from ultimatum to independence, and remember that sometimes saying no to others is saying yes to yourself.